Howdy, all of you delicious people. I'm here today to review episode 9 of What If. So, I like the fact that this episode kind of, resolves all those kind of cliffhanger things that we were having in any of the other episodes, which I'm like, oh, yeah. Because I was thinking, like, what? Like, they're not gonna, all of a sudden they're just gonna end an episode off on a cliffhanger, and then all of a sudden I'm just gonna be like, but what about other episode? But no, they take the ninth episode and kind of clean up any resolved things from other timelines or other just other universes, and I'm like, okay, thank you for doing that, because immediately that just was like, okay, everything is to be bottled into this season, and that's the thing that I liked. Because a lot of times you just get a lot of variety shows. Like I was going into Oates series recently, there was a lot of cliffhangers with that show, and there was just a lot of just unresolved things. And so now it's nice to go into this show and they resolve everything and they bottle it all in one season. Really, also, I can feel like if this show kind of feels like a marketing kind of thing, like they're eventually going to make a comic book off of this, or some one-off things, or like really I can see a lot of other mediums trying to take advantage of this whole thing, where eventually they're to make their own kind of what if thing for their own purposes. Like we have a couple of Marvel either video games that could go out, or mobile games that eventually can take full well advantage of the what if thing, and like create their own Guardians of the Multiverse team and whatever, or come up with their own what if story that they liked or enjoyed or whichever, to just create like costumes or any number of things for certain kind of characters for DLCs or whichever. Uh, Honestly, probably out of this whole series, because I feel like this is like a closing this whole thing up. And plus, also, like, this whole episode is just battle, 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 as well as closure moments. It's still just battle, 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 and it's a stretching of time, uh, and that's just like I. They had to also show where Agent Carter was in this episode, and they had to spend quite a bit of time of that. Uh, because everyone else like didn't have their own like cliffhanger thing to deal with. So uh, so eventually, I thought I had something that I was going to say here, uh, but maybe I don't. Um, I feel. Oh, what was my? I think my favorite episode probably has to be the zombie one, just because I like they fit my fancy with supernatural characters. That episode is just fun. Uh, Really, you just do goofy things with a lot of the characters in that. That episode kind of felt like it was its own thing compared to a lot of other things. Uh, Really, you have to seemingly have Hank Pym, seemingly the enemy of this multiverse, and I just was kind of baffled about that. Um, but I don't know. Some people could have hated the Marvel Zombie episode. Like for me, I remember, of course, the Marvel Zombie comic book, and Machine Man and Jocasta, and really when eventually they were going to pop off this zombie episode, I'm like, oh my god, I hope that this is going to be better than the original Marvel zombie comic book. And I was so having fun with that episode, even though there were some goofy things that they did with certain characters. Obviously, what they did to Scott Lang was just kind of like, okay, that was just so weird. But so yeah, so what is to really happen in this episode? So kind of teeing it up because it's about roughly that time. So most of the kind of cliffhanger characters that were through this whole entire series, they all combine them together and make them into an Avengers kind of team, but they end up calling them the Guardians of the Multiverse. So we end up having Agent Carter, we end up having Thor. So Thor has technically been on Avengers and also the Guardians of the Multiverse and Guardians of the Asgardians of the Galaxy. So he's been in a cluster of teams. We have Black Panther Killmonger. We have Star-Lord T'Challa. We have super mega awesome Doctor Strange. And then we have Black Widow, who is to seemingly be the only human left onto her Earth because it's been basically decimated with zombies. I think really the interesting thing about this show is I really think anybody who is to possibly think of what is to go on for the newest, latest Doctor Strange movie, I think a lot of people got fulfilled for any of those kind of theories that they were to have with that Doctor Strange film here in this show. Because a lot of people were just like, oh man, if they're going to go in through the multiverse of madness, like, ooh, are they going to have zombies? Ooh, are they going to have this? Are they going to have that? I'm like, so, like, when really going into the Doctor Strange movie, what the heck are they even going to do? Like, I think that they technically had covered everything, unless Doctor Strange is going to re-tiptoe his way back into, like, the What If series. Like, I'm just kind of so confused what they're going to do in the Doctor Strange movie, because it feels like they've covered everything. Or, like, are they just going to have a live-action version of the What If series in the Doctor Strange film? I hope not, because that would seem extremely lazy and a waste of money. But we'll see what happens with the Doctor Strange film, because I'm kind of concerned, especially after what they've all put together here. Like, it would be kind of cool if the Doctor Strange like movie sets up the Midnight Suns or something like that, where all of a sudden Doctor Strange is eventually to find like supernatural-ish like characters like a Blade or a Ghost Rider or something like that. That might be cool for a Doctor Strange film to kind of combine or find a ton of supernatural-ish like characters, and that could be a thing that he does in his movie. I would love that. Like either that or just Doctor Strange fighting each one of these characters and then eventually becoming friends with them. That would be cool. But we'll kind of see. Like I'm talking way too soon about a Doctor Strange film, and also, this is going to be on here forever, so me talking about a Doctor Strange film, and then eventually it comes out like, oh yeah, you were so off about that Doctor Strange movie, and here's proof of it in this video. So, we have the Guardians of the Multiverse. I'll just call them GOM to save time. So, or I'll just call them Guardians, I guess. So these Guardians are to, of course, have to fight Ultron Vision. God, I just want to call him Ultra Vision. I'll just call him Ultra Vision. It'll be quick. So Ultra Vision, like, is of course to let the Watcher just take his sweet patootie time getting these Guardians together, and then Gamora weirdly is to be placed within this episode, and they didn't even do an episode with her. So, like, they couldn't have done another episode focusing on Gamora? Like, did I miss something in some other episode? Did I miss an episode? I didn't think I missed any episodes. But all of a sudden we have Gamora, and I'm like, wait a minute, why did they not do like they could have done 10 episodes and then finish it up, or they could have had like like there's obviously certain episodes that I'm just like, I didn't really care about this story. And they could have had like a half and half kind of thing where it's like, hey, here's a rush of what happens with so and so character, but let's focus on Gamora and what she's doing. Because we, like, I'll have to talk about Gamora in spoilers. So yeah, basically the plan of attack is to try and get one Infinity Stone away from Ultravision, and and so that basically becomes a huge arduous process of a battle. And man, do they just stretch this out like a mother. This is the episode where they stretch this thing out, and it doesn't even feel like there is like a good enough like solution. There's not seemingly like an end all be all, and also it doesn't seem, for the most of these characters, that they like, you would have thought that the Watcher would have just smashed all these worlds together or created like the perfect world for every single one of these characters, because like the Watcher would just be like, okay, because of you winning this whole thing. It kind of feels like a Secret War kind of scenario where it's like, oh yeah, thanks for you guys going and saving the multiverse, but like as soon as you walk out that door, you're gonna forget everything and go back to your normal life. Like if you guys don't know what I'm talking about with Secret War, there's a big huge like comic book about it. Go into Comics Historian or Comics Explained, and they will easily explain that to you. Or really, I think there was kind of like a Secret War deal with the 90s Spider-Man series, so go ahead and check that out also. Like, they explain that in a whole entire episode where Spider-Man is picking all the superheroes, and like, I loved the 90s Spider-Man series. Definitely my favorite. So let's go into spoilers, because I've talked about this far too long, and plus was only like a 30 some odd minute show. So let's go into spoiler time. Spoiler time. It's about that time we need to spoil this episode. So in the last episode, the Watcher's like, dude, I'm breaking my oath. Like, let's do this. So, of course, in the very last episode, the Watcher is like, okay, I already have Doctor Strange. He's already done. So now the Watcher is going and collecting everybody else. So I'm not going to say it in the exact same order the way the show is, and I'm not going to say everything in the exact same way that the show does. So it's paraphrasing and whatever, but let's get to this. So immediately let's focus on Agent Carter first, because she has her own little story in her own little world. So the Watcher goes and is to pick up Agent Carter right as she is going and doing, I guess, the exact same thing that is to be Captain America, the Winter Soldier. Like, she's going through that, and she's having like her own like Captain Britain Winter something, because I don't know, like, what is her Bucky? What is going to be her Bucky? Because Bucky doesn't... So wait, does Bucky still turn into Winter Soldier in her world? So she is to... Or maybe, wait, does Captain America turn evil in her world? What happens? What goes on there? Because I'm so confused. Wouldn't that be cool? Like, you would have Agent Carter versus evil Captain Steve Rogers. Man, that would be sweet. And like, and Captain America has a robotic arm. Oh my, that would be cool. Yeah, I want that. Give me some of that. So, but we don't see who the Winter Soldier is in this show. So anyways, so Captain Carter goes and does intel about the whole ship thing, where eventually they're going to fight Batroff, who of course is George St. Pierre, but kind of looks like a goofy version of George St. Pierre. Honestly, in this animated thing, I'm like, man, they didn't do that right. Nah, I don't like that at all. I don't like how he looks. Uh, but it's too late. Uh, so, uh, Captain Carter is giving everyone intel and then going and dunking into the water, of course, like Steve did. Like I was waiting for the moment where someone was to ask Rollo, like, "Hey, like she didn't have a parachute," and Rollo was like, "Ah, she doesn't need a parachute. She's freaking Captain Carter." So I want to say Captain Britain, but like Captain Carter, I guess is what they called her, right? Yeah, because they didn't call her Captain Britain. No offense. Like, hey, man, like, I would have liked it either way. So, we have to kind of quickly do the whole, like, Captain America Winter Soldier thing. So, Captain Carter just, like, gets onto the boat, because she's going and trying to save Sitwell, while I guess this version's Black Widow is to go and still get that intel and all that rigmarole. Like, check out my Captain America Winter Soldier review, and I'll tell you everything. I'll tell you all of it, of a slightly different variation because. Woo! Oh, I'm sorry. Normally I would start over at this point, but I'm not going to. Anyways, because I coughed during a video. Oh my god. Whoo! That hurt. Anyways, so pushing on. So Captain Carter goes on and is to. Let me pause here for a second. That felt good. It felt like you got like kicked in the freaking stomach. That's why I was just like, I need a second here. Anyways, so Agent Carter goes off to fight Batroff, and so like the frog leaper or the leaper, whatever they bizarrely call him. So of course Carter knocks, of course, Captain Carter down. We have the same kind of run play that is to happen in the Winter Soldier, and so all of a sudden the Watcher, after Carter takes out Batroff, the Watcher is like, Agent Carter, I choose you. Like as if like the Watcher is picking Pokemon for whatever reason. So let's go to freaking T'Challa. So it seems we find that T'Challa is to make his way to Dairy Queen because sponsorship? Not sponsorship? Did they get some money for that? Does Dairy Queen even really exist at this point? Because I would assume that Dairy Queen, like I don't remember, like, I thought that they bellied up, right? I don't know. Maybe, no, wait. There's probably still some, like, Grill and Chills or something, so it probably sponsor, right? Can I ask Dairy Queen if sponsor? Anyway, pushing on. Star-Lord goes and rescues Peter Quill from his father, and so eventually T'Challa tells Peter Quill to just hang back, and Peter Quill's like, "Oh yeah, I'm just gonna hang out with this giant baby in the sky," and then so T'Challa ends up turning around and sees the Watcher, and so like the Watcher is like, "Oh, T'Challa, the lost son of Wakanda, and the future guardian of galaxy and whoever, like, I choose you." Which I'm like, okay, so you already have a Guardians of the Galaxy member technically, but then you have to go and get Gamora? So you have two Guardians of the Galaxy technically members in an Avengers, well, I want to say it's an Avengers team because it looks like an Avengers team, but it's Guardians of the Multiverse. So, and technically Thor was also an Asgardian of the Galaxy member. So, like they basically took 3 members from technically a Guardians of the Galaxy team. So it's not like Avengers, it's really just Guardians of the Galaxy. God dang it. Anyways, so let's get to the Gamora stuff. So, evidently, we are weirdly at Nebuchadnezzar, the place where we had Thor needing to get Stormbreaker from Avengers Infinity War. And so we see like the Infinity Gauntlet without all the stones, because I guess they're making one of those. And so Iron Man in like this Hulkbuster armor, but it looks like an interesting looking Hulkbuster armor. So I was like, okay, that looks cool. And so Gamora's there, and so all of a sudden, like, they're talking things out, they're having this string of dialogue. And so all of a sudden the Watcher pops in, and evidently in this world, it seems that Gamora was the one to take down Thanos and maybe put together the most perfect world of all, I guess. So that's maybe why the Watcher is like, dude, I'm picking Gamora because she like saved this whole world of things. And so next up, the Watcher goes off, and I really just quickly bashed through that because it, like, I guess it doesn't really matter because they didn't cover it in the show. Whatever. So the next world, let's go and grab Killmonger. So it seems we had the conclusion of what happened before, where both Pepper and Shuri are getting together to like, yeah, we're gonna go after Killmonger. Yeah, we're gonna go and beat him down and revenge Tony Stark and T'Challa. Yeah, and so like Shuri is like, well, hold on, Pepper. Like we're gonna go and we're gonna like arrest him, and he's gonna have to deal with Wakanda laws. Instead of going and dealing with like your American laws, like we're gonna have him like be dealt with here. Like maybe we'll do something with you guys, but we're gonna keep this all here. So by the time that they break in to try to get to Killmonger, Killmonger is already gone because the Watcher is like, hey, Killmonger, the killer of Tony Stark and T'Challa, like I choose you. So, like, have I gotten everybody? No, there's still Thor. So, of course, Thor is Viva Las Vegasing it out. He's partying, I guess, still, weirdly. And so, of course, the Watcher is to now grab Thor and to bring him in. And, like, weirdly, that whole, like, weird rite of things, of course, is to remind us of Thor Ragnarok, and where Thor is like, ah, and he's screaming like a girl, and like Jeff Goldblum has to reconfirm, like, excuse me, is that a is that a man or a woman? Like, what's with that? So, Thor is the last one to be grabbed and taken and screaming like a woman. And so all of a sudden Thor is like, ah. So, so all of a sudden, I guess, Agent Carter was to put in place of Doctor Strange's mind some tavern, and so all of a sudden, Doctor Strange is to bring all these people together in this tavern to eventually be told what's going on. And so the Watcher is to come in and kind of tell everybody, it's like, well, hey, like, the world's at an end, like, Ultravision is going and is wiping everything out, like, you guys are the only last, like, thing left to be the last real defense of the multiverse. Like, oh, I guess, like, the Watcher also did grab Natasha, Black Widow, from the zombie world, because I guess we could justify that she's the only last real, like, person that could have saved that world, even though, like, didn't Tom Holland and Paul Rudd and the one rando guy from Ant-Man, didn't they kind of escape at the end there, or was that just me? But evidently Natasha was the only one left upon her zombie world. So they grabbed her too with her father's shield. So basically the Watchers be like, hey, you guys are the Guardians of the Multiverse, and so you guys are all going to help me fight Ultravision. And so it's like, okay, that seems great. That sounds great. And so they all go off, and so Gamora's to have the real plan that she needs to grab the Soul Stone. I'm like, yeah, like that's freaking, that's Avengers Infinity War for you, where like she ended up dying from the Infinity Stone. Spoilers for anybody that hasn't seen Infinity War. I would have thought by now, plenty of people will probably have seen all these movies by now. But if not, and I'm spoiling something, I apologize. But this show kind of ties everything, so I wouldn't think that anybody would need a refresher of some kind, or has never seen any number of things by now. I don't know. Go ahead and like see everything up until Avengers Endgame before you go and watch anything with Marvel, because you're going to get spoiled regardless of everything when you do a Marvel new product something. So, Gamora is like, yeah, I want to get the Soul Stone from Ultravision and to put the Infinity Stone into that one big weapon that they had in the Guardians of the Galaxy, the first movie, where kind of Dave Bautista had that big weapon that he was consistently wielding to try and take down Ronan. And like they used that big weapon on Ronan, but Ronan had the one Infinity Stone, and so I was like, well, crap. Like, I guess like he's too strong because Infinity Stone. So this weapon could be used to eventually hold an Infinity Stone in it and go and grab all the other Infinity Stones from Ultravision to eventually then kill Ultravision. So we are led to believe. So they're like, okay, we all got the plan, and Thor's like, well, wait a minute, can you say the plan again, but maybe slower? Maybe not everyone got it. Plus, also, I think that joke was really in there, just like, dude, we're really stretching this episode out, so how about we just slow it down a lot more to just re-explain what's all going on in all actuality. So they go off, and so they go to this one like world thing, and so Ultravision ends up popping in and it's like, oh, hey, I didn't know anybody was really left in this multiversal world of a thing. And so he's like, well, okay, like, I guess I'll just wipe you guys out like I do everything else, with the exclusion of Galactus. I didn't say anything, Galactus. I didn't, not Living Tribunal. What? I didn't say anything of Marvel facts, and I have already said that too much on another review. I apologize, but justifiably, like, they didn't wipe out everything, in my eyes. I don't care if certain characters aren't really into the MCU. No. Comic books exist, things exist to disprove whatever things, but it's whatever. Anyways, pushing on. So, Ultravision tries to wipe... I probably should just say, like Vision 2? Wasn't it, like, Ultron's son Vision and it worked out, but it's still Ultron inside Vision? So that's why I say Ultravision. So, or Ultron Vision, because it's one and the same, even though it's a different thing. So, Ultravision is to seemingly wipe them out by just kind of thrusting them further into the world, but they easily just come from out of the rubble because Doctor Strange is absurdly strong. To where I'm like, dude, Doctor Strange could probably have wiped this thing out by himself because basically all the rest of the Guardians of the Multiverse were just there, but like Doctor Strange was really putting in a lot of the work. So that's what I kind of thought was like the milking of this episode. Just like, dude, nobody else is gonna really do anything. Strange is just kind of like doing everything really, with the exclusion of Gamora eventually getting that weapon together. So what eventually happens? Well, technically, T'Challa and his sticky fingers, let's say. So basically, they're just shielding themselves because they have these weird kind of shields. Each one of the Guardians, and so T'Challa comes in and is to grab the Soul Stone because of his fingers are so sticky, and so I guess score one for T'Challa Star-Lord, and still donut holes worth of 0 for original Chris Pratt Star-Lord, because he ended up having it to where Thanos did get the gauntlet, but Star-Lord T'Challa, he gets the Soul Stone. Yeah. Take that, whatever, Infinity War. Star-Lord T'Challa's just a little bit better. So now, like, T'Challa is to eventually kind of like drop the stone. And so now there's this just mad scramble of everybody just trying to grab the stone. And this takes far too long. But then eventually they do get the stone. Gamora puts into the weapon that I don't know the name of because I don't want to take that kind of time. Because I think they ended up saying even what the name of this thing was, but I really just didn't care because I'm like, dude, looks like the exact same weapon from the Guardians of the Galaxy movie. Go and Google what the name of that is, or just like I think they end up saying what the name of that is even in this episode, but I don't have that kind of time. So eventually, it seems that all the Infinity Stones were to have supposedly been siphoned off into this weapon, and then supposedly this weapon was going to kill off Ultravision. And so they're like, yeah, we did it, like high five, psh, yeah, we did it. But then all of a sudden they realized that, and oh my god, we're almost at the time of which this episode was, so let's rush even more. They find out that Ultravision, like, that weapon didn't work because that wasn't the right weapon for whatever this universe was. So that weapon crapped out. So now, like, the whole reason why Natasha's here is because she has Zola in that one arrow. And so she's like, well, this vision is from my universe, so I can use this Zola thing to take him out. So Agent Carter and Black Widow are doing this team up to where Carter jumps and opens the helmet of Ultravision, and the arrow that Natasha is to fire goes into Vision's eye. And now Zola and Vision are having this conversation with one another. Zola is to take over Ultravision and to kill that off. And so now they think they finally won. But then all of a sudden, Killmonger is to decide, well, like, now I'm going to want to take all the Infinity Stones and everything like that. And now, like, Killmonger is to think that he wants to go and create perfect worlds for everyone by having this power. And so they're like, yeah, no, like, that doesn't seem right. And so all of a sudden, Zola is to just come back with the Vision suit and just be like, well, no, like, I want all these Infinity War things back. Infinity Stones back. Like, I want them, and I want to control this multiverse. And so Doctor Strange is to realize now, he's like, wait a minute. So we weren't really to ever like beat anybody. We were to just to like stall this thing off. And so Doctor Strange creates this bubble to keep both Killmonger and Zola Vision in. And so he's kind of holding on to this because the Watcher is like, hey, Doctor Strange, can you hold on to this bubble thing forever? Like, because if no one is to watch this thing, maybe it might crack one day, and all of a sudden, like, this whole thing spills out again. I'm like, that's probably what season 2 is for, or any number of things, because I'm sure that's bound to happen, where there's eventually going to be some like villain Avengers team that's to be of those two people and someone else, and boom, there you go. There's another season. When eventually they start realizing that they have nothing else to write about. So yeah, with that said, I think that covers everything. The Watcher, after the whole team is to win, the Watcher is to basically boot most of these people off to go back to their worlds to have their happy ending. And so Carter is to be hesitant because she wants to be with Steve. And the Watcher is like, well, I'm sorry, like, you have to go back to your world. And so also, like, Natasha is just like, dude, like, I have no world. And, like, we also had the dumping of all the Marvel zombies to go after Ultravision to kind of, like, stall him off for them to kind of set up things. But so, like, Natasha's like, dude, my world is basically, like, a wasteland. Like, oh, we also had zombified Scarlet Witch fighting off Ultravision. That was actually pretty cool. Like, just trying to figure out and wrap everything up. So, so the Watcher is just like, well, you know what I'm going to do? Because your world is like a waste of whatever, anyways. So the Watcher dumps Natasha into another world where evidently Natasha had died. And I'm like, wait a minute, don't tell me they're going to do that in like the normal MCU of things where like Natasha is actually dead in the live action MCU. Are they going to just have a variant of Natasha in live action MCU? Because I would just not really be okay with that if all of a sudden they have variants of certain characters. Like, plus also I thought like the Black Widow movie would just wrap everything up and would be done with this. But maybe not. I don't know. That seems kind of weird of what they're doing with. Plus also like Scarlett Johansson is actually suing the MCU. So where does that lead us? Are they gonna are they gonna copy and paste and do what they did here in the live action stuff? Are we gonna get a completely different Natasha Romanoff? Or are they gonna recast that character and say it's the same person? Who knows? But so Natasha goes and beats down seemingly the normal Loki, and I guess is to stop what ends up going on in the Avengers movie, because we have Loki staff and we have Loki with Loki staff, and so Natasha ends up like taking control of Loki because she knows about his staff and all kinds of stuff. So with that said, yeah, I think we're gonna wrap up this review. I'm sorry for how long this is, but this is freaking done now. We're done. We're done with this season, and so probably it might be a while. It might be a minute before we get season 2. Plus, also, I think the real length of these all are, especially if they're way longer than all the episodes, is really just because like this is a once a week thing. Like I think I can be as long and stretch out as long as I want, just because really there's some times where some of these one-off reviews are severely quick anyways. So I'm gonna get out of here. Goodbye, everybody. Bye, everybody. Whoa.